Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today's topic are the missing units, lords and heroes for Bretonnia. We're finally coming to the end of our missing units series, so without further ado, let's begin. Bretonnia is one of the races of the Total War Warhammer series that could be considered complete, or at least very close to completion. This is because they never really received that many units in the Warhammer Fantasy universe. Most of them have been implemented into the Total War Warhammer series already, where really all that's missing are characters to provide new starting positions and forms of gameplay. Even then, most of these characters would start within the lands of Bretonnia, or with dual starting positions, which now seems to be becoming a more common thing, and would benefit a few possible legendary lord choices here. With that being said, let's look towards the possible units, and please bear in mind that we're not going to look very early back, especially to very early renditions of Bretonnia where they had access to cannons and gunpowder weapons, as this was during the time of their inception where most human factions were being fleshed out into the lore and were very similar to the Empire. Firstly, we have the Bretonnian Warhounds or Truffle Hounds. Warhounds or Truffle Hounds are a common sight within Bretonnia. Many lords within the dukedoms enjoy the companionship offered by canines. They are generally seen as far more pleasant to deal with than peasants themselves. The dogs would take on the battlefield role of fast-moving units, war machine hunters and basic shock troops, but it is important to note that since they are basic dogs, they are very early game units and would probably not be seen in mid to late game. Next we'll look towards the basic foot knight. While very uncommon to see a knight without his horse, it is still possible, especially when it comes to siege warfare. Knights would take up to the battlements to protect their walls, so it could be possible to see the addition of knights on foot as a late game melee unit. Now they weren't in the most recent army book, but it does make sense to be able to have access to them eventually. Next we have the Sons of Bretonnia. These were young men who displayed magical-like abilities in their youth. The Lady of the Lake herself senses these potential great warriors and whisks them away to her magical realm in the same way as damsels are. The Sons of Bretonnia, however, do not return to Bretonnian society as the damsels eventually do, but rather only ride out to war during Bretonnia's hours of need, where it is said that they burst forth from the mystical lakes, almost ghostly in appearance, ready to do the lady's bidding until their time to return to where they came from. The Sons of Bretonnia are quite powerful themselves, but they are known to be weaker than Grail Knights. And lastly, we don't have a unique unit, but rather a change of mechanic for an already existing one, the Peasant Bowmen, but this time included with stakes. Wooden stakes were always a staple with Peasant Bowmen, being able to bunker down and fire at any incoming enemy while having the peace of mind that they are somewhat safe against enemy attacks. It would be interesting to see these being implemented into the game, maybe as a new unit variant which could allow you to place down the stakes before the battle would begin. In regards to missing characters, all generic lords and heroes have been added into the series already. It is important to note that Bretonnia was really never that large in terms of unique units, lords or heroes. There are, however, a decent number of missing named characters, and please be warned I will be butchering many of these names. Many of these characters are already in game, but without any unique models, voice lines and so on, which just currently makes them generic lords. Firstly, we have Bohemond Beastslayer, the Duke of Bastogne. Having acquired the name Beastslayer from his famous hunts, he seeks only the most vicious foes in battle, where if he encounters any who may not be worthy of his skill, he merely stuns them until they can present to be somewhat of a challenge in the future. Next we have Theodoric, the Duke of Britannia. Theodoric is a rather interesting man. In battle he wields a great battle axe, and he fights with the ferocity of a wild animal, almost as if something else possesses his body altogether. But when not at war, Theodoric has a great love of the arts, poetry, music and more, even going as far as being a famed practitioner of the arts himself. He is the perfect example that people can indeed live two different lives. Now, whilst his dukedom is not represented in the Total War Warhammer series in the Mortal Empires campaign, and it's very likely that we won't see Bretonnia being expanded upon in the big mega campaign for Game 3, this could be a perfect opportunity to have another Bretonnian character somewhere far from Bretonnia, possibly somewhere in the Darklands leading a crusade. Next is Duke Adelhard de Lyonesse, an expert fighter whom when not in battle enjoys the finer things in life, drinking, gambling and the like. Many rumours surround this duke, particularly that his one true god is Ulrich, the god of wars and winter, and not the Lady of the Lake. He is a man of action rather than waste his time on petty politics. Technically, his current position in the Total War Warhammer series is filled by Repans. However, as she is not at her ancestral home, it could be possible that we could still see him implemented into the game. The same could be said about Duke Theodoric of Carcassonne, as currently the Fey Enchantress has taken up residence in his capital. This duke is the bane of the greenskins of Bretonnia, even going as far as using less honourable acts of warfare such as ambush tactics against them, as he argues that orcs fight with no honour, thus deserve no honour themselves. Next is Volkard de Montfort. A curious case when thinking about the Dukes of Bretonnia. Volkard prefers to fight on foot rather than horseback, as his dukedom is full of mountainous terrain. But what is truly out of the ordinary is that Volkard seems to genuinely care about the peasantry of his dukedom, often riding out personally to the various villages when they are under threat and seeing that their needs are tended to. Anyone remotely familiar with Bretonnian lore would know that this is extremely rare to be heard of. Next we have Cassion de Pavaron, the youngest of the Dukes of Bretonnia. He is charismatic, an expert rider, especially when on a royal Pegasus. He, however, does not care much for the dukely duties of court, which is rather frustrating to his advisors who see him as more of a man-child. And lastly is Chilfroy de Artois. A large man by Bretonnian standards and very strong, many claim that this duke is humorless, never laughing and barely smiling. He spends most of his time hunting the many beastmen that litter the forests of Arden, often mounting their heads and bodies as trophies. Now, as you may have noticed, most of these characters themselves never had official models or any official artwork, and I haven't covered every single duke, mainly because most of the dukedoms themselves were squished into Bretonnia and they don't present their own playable faction, or NPC faction at that. Bretonnia was always rather largely ignored by Games Workshop, and I know that that might be a bit of an accusation, but it is kinda true. While many other races and factions did have a decent number of named characters that they could use, in the last playable army book that Bretonnia ever had, there was only 3 playable characters, those of which are already implemented into the game: King Leon Leoncoeur, the Fey Enchantress, and the Green Knight. There are other characters too, especially from previous editions, but honestly I believe that they should focus around the dukes that are still not implemented into the game, as even with the brief amount of lore I've given you in regards to each specific duke, it proves that they can all be somewhat unique. But with that being said, this is my list in regards to what's missing for Bretonnia. Is there anything I've missed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion, shall we? If you have any idea on how they could be implemented, what type of style they'll play, that would also be kinda cool. Just a quick heads up before I end this video, we have come to the end of our Missing Units, Lords and Heroes series. I know some of you guys wanted me to go into greater detail regarding the missing named characters for each specific God of Chaos, and I do have intention of covering that, but I just want to take a little break at the moment from that and focus on some other content. I just don't want to burn out with this. I hope that's cool with you guys. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below, we have various different social media links such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team, talk to us about Total War, Warhammer, or just anything really. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could get loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Purchasing using this link and also using our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. Honestly, it's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to our patrons Gibraltar LUSC and Ryan Bertsche for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, you guys are super cool. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, the channel's been growing a lot lately and it's all thanks to you guys. Without you, the Great Book would be nothing. We're trying to implement more videos into the channel soon, but we're getting stuff done outside of YouTube at the moment, just like artwork and so on for the channel. It's just taking a little while to get everything to look to a standard that we feel is cool. Honestly guys, thank you so much for all the support lately, it's been amazing. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.